Pepper here. I was asked to do a video about bugging in, about handicapped people and people with limits and things. I had a comment received that they've checked off through YouTube, and there's nobody really talking about bugging in, especially when it involves handicap or people with limits and things in an area. So he asked me to pass the word out to all the YouTubers to do more videos about bugging in. So I'm going to talk about bugging in. There's advantages and disadvantages of bugging in, just like bugging out. The bugging in part, if you were handicapped with limits, now, like, I've got one knee's been replaced. I got another knee that's bad. So, my option is, say I'm not able to get out, and I don't want to have to bug in for a certain length of time. Number one option is location. Your location, where you're living at, what kind of building you're in, what kind of neighborhood you're in, things in that area, your budget on what you can or cannot afford. If, say, for example, you're in a wheelchair, how are you gonna barricade your door? That's something you have to look at as an option. You have to barricade where you yourself can reach the door. And if you rent or if you own, it's two different options. If you rent, you need to figure out how to put some kind of barricade over the door to reinforce it, to keep people from breaking in so easily. Or zombies or whatever happening. Something you have to look at there too. So it's reinforcing the door. Whether you can put more hinges there. If you are able to, if it's like a barricade across the door to reinforce it. If you're rent, you know you're going to have to turn around and patch it up and blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, during the time frame you're there, you can fix that and put the barricade over the door to help. Is it going to stop them totally? No. Will it slow down some of them? Yes. It will deter to a point. Another thing is food supply. You have to figure out on food supply what kind of foods, what kind of, you can only go like 3 days without water. So you're going to have to consider that as well. Are you able to open your window up totally where you can collect rainwater? That's something you have to consider right there. Another thing is, if it's an outbreak or whatever, the smell of death, the disease possibility is something you're going to have to consider and look at in the same aspect of the whole area too, is being exposed to this here, being able to survive through situation. Filter mask is something you're going to have to consider. Basic overall mask can help some, but it's not necessarily going to deter it. If you have to consider that as an option also. Now, whether you rent, but if you own a place, the type of windows you have, replacing the windows one at a time as you can afford it. Looking at storm-proof windows, sturdier windows that's not going to break so easily. But at the same time, you got to be able to get yourself out in a situation. Never totally barricade yourself in where you yourself cannot get out a window or whatever, but you do need to secure it. There is bars that people can purchase that and have designed to fit on the inside of the window where you can remove them or place them in at your choice where it's not welded in. You can have those put in. Another thing is setting up your place where you can move around freely. What you've got to figure out in bugging in the first few days is chaos. If you've seen shows or pictures or whatever, a back-to-back traffic, people are going crazy, they're trying to get out, it's back-to-back traffic, it's traffic jams, people get mad, people get angry. In a situation like that, and they're telling everybody to evacuate. So everybody's piling up in their vehicles and they're evacuating. So you have to look at options of ways of getting out of the town or wherever you're at in a different route to get supplies, or to, if you decide to leave later, it's something else you got to look at right there. Another thing is the choice of if the military goes door to door and they want to send you to a FEMA camp or whatever, your choice is, do you want to bug in or do you want to go to these camps? Another thing about the camps can be a drawback. It depends on how bad the situation can get. You can run out of food, you can run out of health facilities, any number of options in that. But as a handicapped person and a person with limits who has not the option to get in their vehicles and leave rather quickly, choice to bug in. In the first few days of a catastrophe, it's going to be chaos. Bottom line is going to be chaos. People are trying to get out of town. People are trying to do all this stuff. So you're looking at the chaos part. Then you're looking at the ones that ends up not getting out of the town. Maybe they try to get out of the town, or they just didn't want to get out of the town, whatever, gangs or whatever. Your neighbor could become a killer. Your neighbor could become anything. And then he or she could still become your ally. That's a toss of the coin. If you've seen old movie show where people became cannibals, people who became ruthless and vicious people were flipping hamburgers at some restaurant at some point, and then they became this huge boss. And they loved the apocalypse because now they get to be something they weren't before. It's a lot of things to consider, but bugging in, you have to figure out how to be able to collect rainwater, filter it, and if the rainwater could be bad or contaminated, then you have to think about all that. There is UV stuff you can purchase. You can make your own filter system from sand, charcoal, and rocks. You also boil it. So there's several things you would have to consider doing in a situation like that. You can do the basic filtering for it and catch the rainwater, and then run it to a UV system, then run it to a boiling system, whatever. You have a lot of things to think about that too. Another thing is cooking. If you are cooking food, you're going to have to worry about other people smelling it. So if people's out there scavenging, or it's the apocalypse, zombies, virus outbreak, whatever, you have to be very careful on that. So you have to think about the kind of food you can prepare and fix. Now, on one of my videos, I show you how to use potato chip bags to cook with. And basically, it's just two bags, one bag inside another one. You take that one bag, and it can't be just any potato, but it's got to be the kind of slime with the silver stuff in it. Or if you even got those type of bags. I turn around and I put my noodles, and I put some beef jerky in there, and then I turn around and put hot water in it, folded it over, put some clips on it, bobby pins, hair clips, whatever clips you got. Then I placed it in another bag, folded it over, rolled it over, sealed it up tight, and put another clip on it. And then an hour later, I took it out, and the food was ready. So something you got to look at is the opposite of preparing your food. That technique works very well. It means you're not sitting there spending time cooking the food. You can get your water to smell. Excuse me. So then you have to do that. Another option is keep them clean. Sanitizing your clothes. Using a potty pot. There is you can consider the cat litter option. And the cat litter option basically is very beneficial when you think about it, as far as absorbing things. You put in, you can use the bags, the bag potties or whatever. You can make your own, however you want to do it, and then you tie it up. Now the thing is, there is getting ready rid of the waste is another thing you have to consider in a bug-in situation. If you are removing the waste from your place, you cannot put it at your front door. It's an open invitation, and you have to figure out where you're going to put this here at. If you're living in an apartment complex or whatever, and the place is abandoned, you can consider possibility storing it in one of the apartments as an alternative plan, but still, you are still going to have to dispose of this here waste. Even after a certain length of time, that room is going to fill up, and you're going to need to consider ways of storing it, like in totes and things like that you may want to stock up on, because you want to keep the smell down, and you want to keep it from busting and leaking out, because you're living in that place. So you're looking at all those options as well. Keeping clean is another thing you got to consider. You can use vinegar and water to help clean your skin with. Look at different options, dry shampoos if you need to. But look at the different options you need to help keep clean with. Same way with your clothes. You can turn around and spray a vinegar water solution on your clothes. It helps air them out. It helps disinfect them some. So you're looking at that as well. Now, one way to help keep your clothes a little bit clean is consider wearing a pair of coveralls over your clothes when you're going out somewhere or whatever. But the smell of the clothes will attract things as well. So you've got to look at that. And also, you don't want to attract body lice and things in the area, so you got to look at options of keeping clean and reducing the overall problems. Believe it or not, using cooking oil to rub on your body helps keep you clean. Many other cultures and other countries use oil that they make to help keep their bodies clean as well as their hair. Rubbing oil through your hair will help keep any chances of lice and things get into your hair. It won't look that good, but you can rub it in there, and you can comb it in there and comb it back, and then your hair is, of course, protected that away from any possibility of lice, ticks, and things like that. It reduces the chances of you getting it. Using the oil, also, you just simply place it on your hand, rub it into your skin, then take a cloth and rub it off, and it helps remove a lot of the dirt. So, bugging in is something you have to consider. You have to go through your ABC list. You have to consider your situation, your medications, your supplies, how to collect your water, where's your food sources at. Consider raising some of your own plants and stuff in your apartment or your house or whatever. Considering that you want to wait about bugging out until maybe some of the mayhem comes down, and the dangers of it also when you leave. It's a lot of what if in a situation. So I hope some of this gives you some thoughts and suggestions about the location you need to be in, the type of food you need to stock up, how to prepare it, how to get your water, how to keep clean, your type of medication or alternative medications through the use of herbs and plants, having some pot to raise maybe some tomatoes or whatever basic plants you can raise into your place to help sustain yourself, barricading yourself in, preparing yourself, self-defense, knowing how to use basic self-defense. You can be in a wheelchair and still go and have someone teach you how to use your hands to help defend yourself in the situation. Filter masks, clothes to protect yourself in the environment. That's something you have to consider also in a situation. Being exposed to this stuff here. Using oil in your hair to help reduce lice and things like that. Using oil to wipe down your body and keeping yourself clean. Using vinegar to help disinfect things. Lemon juice and things in that area. It's a lot to think about, but you can make your vinegar. You can make tons of vinegar. Liquids is very important, whether you got soft drinks, water, Kool-Aid, whatever you got in there. You keep liquid stocked up on yourself because you're going to only last 3 days without liquid. So then you have to think about that. Water is priority. You can go roughly 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, and 3 minutes without air. So it's something to think about. Bug it in. Being handicapped with lemons is something to think about. This life prepper here, being safe, be happy. Bless you all.